Hello everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. This is, well, I'm Denise, first of all, in case you're new. Uh, and I have your weekly astrological transits. We're going from, what is it, July 16th to the 22nd. I have my charts here and a few notes. Such a huge week. So not only do we have the Cancer new moon and the nodal shift happening on the same day, 17th, then we have lots of Moon, Mars, and Saturn action throughout the week, pretty much. And then Saturday we have the Sun moving into Leo, so it'll be happy birthday for all of our Leo sisters and brothers. and then Venus goes retrograde in Leo too. So let me swap out cameras here and just take you through the charts right over my table. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have highlighted the hot points or the big events that I'm seeing for this week, and it's going to get even bigger and more intense. This is the beginning of this, well, all week long we have this grand square between, you can see water and earth, and then over here it's earth and water. But then as it shifts, when the nodal shift happens tomorrow, which I've already done a video on that, so go ahead and look in my library and you'll see that I uploaded that last week, and it takes you through the houses in your chart as long as you know your chart. So there's the themes, just to simply state, and I'm not going to throw a bunch of dates at you, so this can go more quickly. And I can focus in on just this week, because this week there's so much. So, okay, when it comes to the grand square, the grand cross, I should call it. It's actually a grand cross, but it's two T-squares. So Pluto's up at this end with the T-square to the nodes, bringing in the focal point of the need to be inside of our own inner integrity, the power of our inner integrity. And if we're not, coming from that place of love and caring love with the polar opposite with the sun. Notice how the sun's at 23 degrees and it ticks forward almost 1 degree a day, or actually 1 degree a day. And you know how some months have more days in the month, and July is one of those months. Of course, we go to the 31st. I think it was Julius and Augustus that got in some battle over who got to have more time back in the day, if you want to research that. Anyway, so Pluto opposing the sun, and the sun's going to be this. You can see it's a beginning opposition because we're about 6 degrees apart here. But as the sun ticks forward every day, this will intensify. This opposition will intensify. So with the sun in Cancer, we're wanting more security and safety, and especially emotional security. We're not going to just share ourselves with someone who we think might spit it back in our face someday, or not be thinking for us or thinking along with us, like looking out for us. You know how it is when you're in a really healthy relationship, you look out for each other, right? You want to protect each other and you want to nurture each other. That is Cancerian energy. And with Capricorn at that polar opposite, there can be confrontations within that. And there can be, of course, in politics, we can see that there's all these greedy politicians who are not looking out for their people. They're looking out for themselves only. And in fact, they're trying to instigate, they're trying to weaponize the government against the people. It's like, what? And they're not doing their jobs. Instead, they're just collecting paychecks and starting problems. So there's that, right? And that's what we have going on with the nodes, the square to the nodes, with Pluto up there in the sign that rules the government, the Pluto, the planet of power. What we can do to counter effect that is to trust our spidey senses, trust our, or we could say crabby senses. crabs in the water, they go back and forth. And you don't want to mess with those claws. So the deal with Cancer is it's always going to be looking towards the past for its reference point. That's why it goes back and forth. It's like, wait, I know what happened back here, and so before I even go to this side and then move forward, it's like back and forth and then forward, right? And we've got the square coming from the sun here over to the node that's just about ready to move into 29 degrees of Aries. And there will be that cardinal energy. Right now it's kind of fixed. It's still fixed. But, tomorrow it's going to break through. And then we really have a dynamic, this cardinal square going on here. And then it takes us up to the square, or back to the square of the south node, because the south node is about the past. So we have learned a lot over this last year and a half about what's going on, who's for the people and who's not, who in your life is working with you or at cross purposes against you. And as Venus goes retrograde, and Venus is here at this point. Notice this finger of fate here, or it's called a yod, this aspect here. And it lasts all week, and we even have a couple of yods coming in. There'll be two that we're playing with, and this finger of fate, finger of God, yod, whatever you want to call it. I always like to go back to the power of our free will, but we have incarnated here at this time for some reason, right? We're all here together in this for some really good reason, and I think it's for healing. Because Venus wants to unify. Venus wants to unify at the heart, but there's a lot of courage. And notice how Venus is at the point. We have the opportunity up here between Pluto, our power, our self-empowerment, and Neptune, our spiritual path, but also Neptune has to do with not only our spiritual, how we can source ourselves in spiritual energy, but also to be thinking out for people who are vulnerable. Think of the kids. Think of, my goodness, think about how we need to care for the Earth's resources right now to promote sustainability. That would be Capricorn. Neptune here would be everyone, the masses. And then, with Pisces, we're even including immigration. And Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008, and it's been asking us that question, can we move mostly into renewable energy sources? And I do believe that when Pluto moves fully into Aquarius, we should see even more of that. And then between the years of, when Pluto's finally into Aquarius in 2024, I think it's November. Pretty sure it's November 19th, 2024. Then we will have that 20 years to possibly, be just inside of the natural growth of renewable energy sources and new power grids. And, we're in the realm of Uranus. So Uranus being the energy sources, technology, and in Taurus, there are these physical ways. And notice how we have this trine to Pluto now and the sextile over here to the sun. So we may be seeing more and more, and this will be all week long, more things coming out in the news as to renewables and how to actually get them, because Taurus is about having something, right? And then more power to us for for those who want to help the earth. But also Uranus has everything to do with astrology and science and, like I was saying, all forms of technology. So possible internet. We know that Biden has worked heavily to bring in more, that's the thing is, A lot of these things we won't see for years, but at least the money's there and the beginning. We have the beginning, although I still think it's way late. But that's what happens when you have a Republican-run Senate and House like we had, and you have Mitch McConnell in there for years, and you have these guys controlling things from the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation and all of that. You're stuck. You're stuck. It's like, who killed the electric car back in the 80s? Remember that? Did anybody ever hear about that? I remember going to those lectures in the 80s. Like, whoa, man. Well, basically it was OPEC. Reminds me of this little old lady. When I lived in Ventura, I used to always see her on the 101 driving her Prius, and her vanity plate said, her license plate said, 4, and then a Q, and then OPEC. So I'll let you guys figure out what that meant. Okay, so anyway, Venus here in Leo, getting ready to retrograde at the focal point of this finger of fate. Venus, the difference between Venus and Neptune is Venus is personal love, personal power, what we can attract. It's like putting the Empress card here. And then Neptune, we could be putting the Hanged Man here, and that is about the surrender, and especially in Pisces, surrendering to the all, that is based in love. So we've got personal love and spiritual love. And with this in conjunct, if we only focused on this one leg of it here, this finger of fate, we would see that there are adjustments to be made, right? So all the little things that we do in order to keep our families safe and in order to help curb climate change. I mean, we've been at the tipping point way too long. It's like, basically, I feel like we're screwed. I just do. And I say that because it's something I've been talking about since I learned, and nothing's been done. And I've done many readings on it. And if you look in my video library and you look at those readings, you'll notice there aren't very many views because, people didn't really care as much about that as they did politics. And I understand, but until we all care, because remember, Venus unifies and Leo is about the heart, and it's about the courage to come from your heart and think about other people. Think about all the people that are living in those communities where they might not be able to get out. They might not have the resources to get out of, the sea level rise. And think of all the people that depend on, well, I know everybody has a different argument on it, but depend on fishing for their life, to earn a living. So things will be changing, and we have to adapt. These quincunxes here, these 150-degree aspects, are about adaptation. So we can, if we get inside of the Venusian energy, which just think again in the tarot of Empress energy, mom energy. Here, hold on, let me bust out if I can grab them both at the same time. Okay, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. And let me grab from the Light Seers Tarot. Here we go. If we can all get inside of both of these cards and just look at that artwork, it's mom. It's Mother Earth. Sorry, I had to draw a bathing suit on her because of YouTube, but it's okay. I don't mind. Anyway, we're dealing with the issues that have to do with, just think of clean water, food sources, how to protect women and their reproductive rights, how to protect the earth, because Mother Earth, well, she'll do whatever she needs to do to balance herself out, and we have to adapt, But I also do believe that the more peaceful we are, the more peace we create on earth. I believe that everything is an inside job. And so I think that that's a really good way to deal with this, is just to do your best to focus on what you can create in your own life and trust. And this would be the connection here to the spiritual source energy that you can promise creates that ripple effect out, or you can trust. You can have faith in that ripple effect out, right? It's like the pebble in the water and you see it go out. That's Neptune. And especially it's super, super resourced in water energy, spiritual energy in the sign of Pisces. And we have this going on until, I know I said I wasn't going to throw dates at you, but Neptune won't move into Aries until 2026. So we have, quite some time to get this powerful, self-empowering energy as to our spiritual path, and to know, most of all, we have this opportunity to know how powerful we are spiritually. So yeah, and we have this transit, this one here, even though we'll lose these other legs, but it's going to, these personal planets, as they keep ticking forward, the faster moving planets that keep ticking forward, they're going to hit that spot. So we have quite some time here to do our part for in our own lives, and that affects everyone else. But this sextile here, we have this going on through October. I think it's about a week before Halloween or so. We still have this opportunity happening. So, what else? It's like where to focus. There's so much. So I'll just go ahead and instead of picking apart every little thing, I think I'll move a little more quickly this week. But just to notice that the most important pieces here have to do with the connection to Venus, and the connection to the past, and the connection to the future from Venus. So that encompasses everything that I was just speaking to. And then with Uranus, notice how Uranus is here at 22 degrees Taurus, and it has this nice trine up to Pluto. Again, we have that ability, and this is an approaching, applying trine, so it's very powerful. And so with this, 7-degree orb we have going on here, it's really nice to focus in on new ways to reinvent yourself. Remember, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, but, focus here on Venus, Venusian energy here. Just think of putting Venus in that creative Empress energy here with Uranus, and you can blend that energy and imagine, Venus and Uranus. It's like it can be sudden breakthroughs. Uranus has everything to do with anything that helps us be more free. And it can happen quickly. It can also create, a breakup or a split, but we don't have a hard aspect going on to Venus anymore. We do have the square here from Mercury to Jupiter. So be a little forewarned if somebody's coming at you with some promises of any kind of get rich easily or quick scheme. Because Mercury in Leo makes for really, really, really good salespeople. They can connect easily, and they're like the charmers and the people who are able to feel into the heart energy and connect with you in a beautiful way. But then with the square to Jupiter, and especially in the money sign of Taurus, it's like, well, you just ask yourself, what do they really want? It can be something like that. So, and then Mars here, it's especially reinforced because Mars here is opposing, and it's again an applying opposition. There can be some confrontation with someone who's controlling or rigid, or just, most likely with this polarity between Virgo and Pisces, it could be somebody coming at you wanting to borrow money, or wanting you to do things for them, and there's a confrontation that will put you on the edge of the ability to create a breakthrough in the areas of setting a healthy, strong boundary. And remember, I think I said last week or the week before that, whenever your no comes from, whenever you say no coming from your love, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're loving yourself and you're loving the other person, because it's not always good to rescue people, especially if they're continuing to, like, they're just not getting the lesson. It's like, okay, well, yeah. So, okay, so this square down here, so remember, we have a T-square here and a T-square here, so that brings the sun at this focal point. And like I started to say about 10 minutes or more ago, sorry about that, had my squirrel moments there, with the sun opposing Pluto, this is very personal. And again, with the ability to create a breakthrough, but there might be, a no here. There's a very real possibility that we have a no going on here and here and here. And this, to me, overall, from looking at, staring at these charts for quite some time before I even, set up and get this going, I kept feeling that this is a week it's a hot week to stabilize and really get inside of what it is that you want to create. What are the new things that you want to bring into your life, or actually to stabilize on, upon the foundation that you've been working from for quite some time. And this will heat up over the next couple of days, especially with the moon. Of course, we have the new moon coming in with the moon in Cancer and the sun in Cancer already. And then we're going to have the new moon opposing Pluto. This energy, it's like having your solar and your feminine, your divine, well, divine masculine and feminine together as one. Like there's just no, and it's very instinctual. It's very movement oriented in the sign of Cancer, but it is to create more safety and more, that sacred space in your home. And for some people, it might be hard to let go of, like maybe somebody's getting ready to go off to college and this is their last summer with you. And there's that, those confrontations that come up of like, oh no, I don't want to go through that. But that's where we can say a yes to the universe coming from love, because our kids need to grow up, and well, they're already, when they grow up, when they're grown, and we need to always encourage their independence. And that's especially true with Chiron here, hooking up with Eris, because it's all about the gifts that can come through from encouraging independence for everyone, helping everyone be more independent. And the pitfalls of Saturn retrograde in Pisces will be that if people aren't working, if adults aren't geared towards working on their independence, it's going to be even harder for them. And then others are going to need straight out support, when things happen, like we have hurricanes and things like that. But we're seeing, where government officials have dropped the ball and kept the money for themselves, and, like DeSantis with his, or I should say DeSantis, Satan, with his, he and his wife diverting COVID funds into their own coffers. It's like, when's that investigation going to come through? Well, I think it is happening already. There was something about 92 million that they're starting to, well, it's exposed. The news has exposed it. And that will really be the case with this whole sojourn of Mercury in Leo, because just remember that Leo is ruled by the sun, and the sun is a spotlight, and it focuses energy, shines the light. So and especially when sun moves all the way up to next month. We have the Sun conjunct Mercury. Yeah, like I said, things are heating up. So, okay, the moon, we do have, for today, we do have the moon in this semi-square here to Venus. So there is some action that needs to be taken in order to be able to, feel good about yourself. Venus and Leo, most of all, and especially at this late degree, and it's getting ready to go retrograde. On one level, we can think of, in the tarot, the Queen of Wands type of energy, where there's optimism, there's self-confidence. And that only happens when we come from the heart, because it's the heart, it's coming into our love, it's being very grounded and then being in our heart energy that helps us open up the other chakras so that we can get our guidance. But if we're not in our heart, we're needing to adjust, because it's not going to work out as well. So let me go ahead and move forward. Let's look at Monday. And you can see we do have the Cancer new moon coming in at 11:30 a.m. Oh, actually, let's do this, because this is both of these things are happening on Monday. There we go. Or maybe, actually, hold on. Okay, that'll work. So, Cancer new moon happens at 11:30 in the morning. The nodal shift from Taurus to Scorpio into Aries and Libra happens at about 1 p.m. on Monday. So you can see that we have that double yod going on, that double finger of fate going on. So I'll focus more in on that, and just know that I'll let this go, because I already have that video done. If you go to the video called the Nodal Shift with the Cancer New Moon, or I think it's, what did I call it? Nodal Axis something. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the comment area. And then eventually I'll get the timestamps in for this one too. But the timestamps are in for the Nodal Shift. So if you know your chart, you'll not only be able to see where you're going to have the axis, the shift of the axis here, but also where the Cancer new moon will come in on in your chart as well, because I take you through the houses. So if you know your chart, you'll be able to figure that out easily. So, but the important thing here is just to notice again, Venus, personal love, Neptune, spiritual love, and that connection between the two that creates the empowerment. The Venus to Pluto. We can have intense experiences of loving someone else and then realizing that, oh my goodness, I'm seeing the divine in this person. I'm seeing the unique aspect there, the unique spiritual essence of this person that no one else has. Right? Every person is completely different. Even there's no two fingerprints that are alike, even on fraternal twins. Identical twins. Isn't that crazy? So yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to focus in on here is the beautiful trine. So we have the aspect of the architect coming from Pluto down to Uranus, which can make the big shift because it's at that like lever point. And then here to this new moon. So this is an excellent, well, I get this uploaded on Thursday. So when this video starts, when you get it, just know that that's the time to start doing the work, that start putting your intentions out there, start making a list of what you want to bring in. And this Cancer, because Cancer is all about growth. It's about, just think of planting seeds and figure out what you want. Figure out what you want, make that list, get a vision board going, meditate on it 20 minutes a day, and see how long it takes. Figure out where the weeds are that you need to pull out of your garden, which would be the garden of your consciousness that plants the new seeds. It says, I want to create this. And and just keep doing it. Keep watering your garden, keep pulling out the weeds, keep giving it sunlight. You have to meditate in order to do that, and also do the physical things. You can't just say, I want something, and you just want the world to give it to you without you doing your work. Now, miracles do happen, like things come through, but I think that that's because the work was already done in the past, and you're just very open, and it was just a matter of timing. So I think I'll go ahead and move forward with that, because I covered the new moon immensely already in that other video. So I'll just direct you back there. And then let's go ahead and, well, one thing I could say, I don't know if I did talk about that much in the last, I think I forgot that, and it is really important. So when it comes to that nodal shift, just think of putting Mars on the north node. So this is very directionally focused in going towards what really motivates you. And then think of putting Venus on the south node, and then you're coming into that place of wanting to sit and be in and integrate within relationships, people that you love. And then with Venus going retrograde, that I'll really dive into that, and that'll help reinforce those. So we're going to be coming from a place of wanting to create more unity and harmony and well-being and abundance. And we're going to be headed in the direction to get that, right? Instinctually headed in that direction. Okay, so Tuesday, if I have this lined up here, okay, that's good enough. Tuesday, 4 a.m., the moon has moved into Leo. So I'll focus on the moon here. And notice that we have this double opposition to Pluto. So something happened during the new moon that helped you really get in touch with what you're wanting to grow, wanting to protect, maybe even some healing guidance that came through in dream time with Neptune there, with this aspect of the architect from, this finger of fate, this yod, with Neptune at one end of the sextile here. The opportunity is to find some empowerment, and because Pluto is about transformation, and Neptune rules dreamtime and meditation, and all spiritual practices, even listening to music, even soaking in the bathtub, or getting in the shower, or a hot tub, or going down, to the ocean and having a nice little walk, or just to gaze and look at the water from wherever you can, even maybe just a lake. Or maybe watching the kids play in the kiddie pool out front. You never know what it is. So everything that I said leading up to this point is still in effect with all these other transits going on. But with the moon now newly into Leo, we're talking more. There's more self-expression as to maybe what we're doing here. See how we have that trine coming from the moon and that trine coming from the sun. Maybe we're connecting the dots, and we're talking about, maybe there's even just more heart energy, even if we're not talking about it. But something has happened, I think, in dream time and meditation, or maybe a movie, because Neptune rules, all types of film and that type of media. So maybe you watched a video, or video on YouTube, or music on YouTube, or movies, or series. Maybe there was some Netflix series or some other series on any other streaming platform. That would be Neptune. And it could be, to help with the empowerment process. And then now with the moon in Leo connecting down here, there's a very real possibility that there's more emotional courage to come through, to express yourself. And there might be some intuitive change that comes through, or some change that you know that needs to happen, and it came through intuitively. And it helps you have more self-confidence. So, and it might even be guidance that, like, you knowing, especially with that sojourn of the moon in Cancer, and then leading up to that new moon at that very ripe degree of 25, almost 20, well, 25 and a half. Sound like Rain Man here. 25, oh no. After that little sojourn, there's, that understanding. Whenever we've got Cancer energy happening by transit, we're having a deeper understanding as to what our home life was like. And it doesn't matter how old you are, little pieces can come in and help you to understand, and then transform some heart energy going through there with the moon in Leo. So, yeah. And then remember that Grand Cross I was talking about. See how it's still there. I just didn't highlight it in, but it's still there, but now the moon's involved. Just like it was, with that, with the new moon, was it? Yeah. The nodal shift in the new moon. Yeah, because I did cover that in the other. To have the moon and the sun together within that Grand Cross is that, I hope that there was healing of the past with family issues that came through for you guys. And it doesn't matter if if the family member is still on the planet with us or not anymore. We can connect in spirit time, in the spirit world. The heart energy is eternal. There's no such thing as time and space when it comes to love. So you can always sit down and have a meditation with somebody who's crossed over, and tell them whatever you want, and listen to whatever they have to say. And you can see that double finger of fate going on here. So that may very well be what that energy is all about, because with Venus in Leo and that late degree Leo, just one more degree and it would go into Virgo, but instead it's going to retrograde, and we're going to have some fun with it for some time. I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's just all about the heart energy, and just think of putting the sun, the focal point, because it's in Leo, the sun rules Leo. Think about putting like sun and Venus energy together. It's fantastic, because the sun helps us to become aware of something, and it'll bring things to our attention, and it'll help us too because the sun is also the ruling planet of our core energy, and it helps us to get in touch with our soul path and our journey and our vocation, our life purpose, and our leadership, our own, deep authority. And of course, with Pluto in Capricorn, there's that support there. But adjustments will be made because, you have to get in touch with what you really love. It's going back to that book I always talk about, that Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. I think it's by Marcia Sinatar, if I remember correctly. I think it was written in the 80s. Late 80s or early 90s, somewhere in there. I think in the 80s, yeah. But anyway, so let me go ahead and move forward, because it just suffice to say, to sum this up, with the moon here squaring the south node and the north node together, and that nodal shift that happened, it's all about relationships and moving forward in, coming from the heart. So if you're in a relationship that you just can't find the love again, keep trying. Keep trying. Don't give up until, you know that it just won't work. And if it doesn't work for both parties, then it's not going to work. But we have to do our best. So, okay. Wednesday, 4 a.m., the moon has hooked up exactly with Mercury. Well, pretty much exactly 10 more minutes. Good enough. And so now there's a lot of talk about what we want. A lot of work to manifest whatever it is that we want. The moon and Mercury brings together the intuitive mind, and with a square over here to Jupiter, we have big plans that have been building over this last day. Now, we just have to be careful about exaggerating. Like let's say you meet somebody new and you really feel a heart connection. Well, you have to be careful, because what if you love them today but you don't tomorrow, and then they're immensely hurt because you take the love away. So we have to be careful. We also have to be careful about spending money and promising a lot of things. Jupiter in Taurus is it can expand the things that we want, and then with that square over here to Mercury and the moon, the moon kind of expanding that as well. And the moon can be a little bit of an ego filter too. It's like we're in a natal chart. I always look to the moon as like, oh, it's the way we see things, and that's because that's the way we grew up. So if we're clearing out those old filters from the past, and this is what the tension field could be, because Jupiter can definitely be about healing, but it is a tension field with a square. So how do we see clearly and communicate clearly? Well, the best way is through the heart, where there's forgiveness and where we can let go of needing to control someone. But you will see, people out there and on the news and the dirty politicians that are definitely trying to control the masses. Neptune's at the one point over here. With this, notice how we have this double, So Venus is at one end, Neptune's at the other. If we're looking at just the points, Venus and then Neptune. So we do have to be careful about these politicians that are just trying to control with a cult-like following. You guys know who I'm talking about. And, and he's not the only one. So there's that. Yeah, that can be very challenging. But with Mars still in that opposition to Saturn, there is some ability to work that through. And notice it's not an exact opposition yet, but it's cooking that way. So, especially because Saturn's retrograding back this way and Mars is going forward. So, yeah, what else? Let's see. The Sun is not at that exact opposition yet, but it's building up, like I said earlier. Still that square, that grand cross happening. And yeah, we can still, with Venus, with the sextile to the south node, we can still look to the past for we can always, even if Venus wasn't there, we can always look to the past to help us unify, something within. That reunification process always happens by looking back at the past and being in the present and making that shift within from the present moment, and then that shifts the future, which is the north node. Just instinctually we'll shift it with the north node and quickly too, with the north node in Aries. So yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and move forward to Thursday to check. Yeah, this is another one where I have two in one day. Let's see. Okay. All right. So on the same day, so 6 a.m., focusing here, we have the Sun exactly trining Neptune. So with that aspect, which has been building, but now that it's exact, this is really beautiful for just coming from your spiritually sourced practices and your higher self. I look at Neptune as the planet that rules our higher self. And with that aspect there, there's some connection, like a very psychic connection between who you are now as a human being on the planet and maybe some past life regression. Maybe something came through in dream time that helps you grow in your personal evolution, and it's connected to understanding, maybe having a deeper understanding as to what you went through in a past life, which can be very healing. And you can see that Jupiter has this beautiful trine over here. It's an applying trine to Mars. So Jupiter also healing, and with Taurus, it can be healing the body or healing our financial issues, or healing finally, understanding what's yours versus, the others. What is yours? How much money do you have alone, or what are your personal belongings that they're yours? And with the beautiful trine over here to Mars, this is also because these are both Earth signs, of course. So there can be some hard work that you don't mind doing that brings you inside the details of something in your life that you're trying to manifest, or you've been manifesting, but now that you're stable in one way, you're going to do something different in another way. There can be some reorganizing of energy here because you're moving forward in a much more efficient way with Mars in Virgo. And so give yourself extra time to to organize something, because it's going to pay off in the future, and especially as Mars moves forward. Mars moves pretty darn quick. Unless it goes retrograde, it moves pretty darn quickly through the signs. So anyway, what else? With the moon here is conjunct Venus, so has moved past Mercury, picked up that information, and now hooking up with Venus. Again, there's that intuitive response to what is needed. There's connecting the dots in a way that you can nurture your heart, and notice how we have two. So the aspects up here are the same between Venus and Pluto, so your spiritual empowerment, but then we have two inconjuncts coming because the moon is involved. So now it's not just Venus at this focal point. There's some intuitive energy that came through, or a family member, or someone you love, or something around the house that you fine-tune in a way that makes it much more loving and fun and playful. Both Cancer and Leo energy are very playful. And and again, like maybe just lots of meditation where you're playing with spirit, and then fun, watching some movies or something, or playing with kids, grandkids, or your children, or your adult children. There's just lots of heart energy. And Leo rules the father too, so there could be something with dads and granddads, and okay, now if we move over here, so I'll go ahead and just move. Oh wait, did I talk about Mars opposition? Yeah, I did. I talked about it earlier. The only thing that's different here is that it's exact. So we talked about it yesterday, that opposition. Again, cutting the wheat from the chaff with Mars and Virgo. There's action to create something more useful. And it does help create some foundation that's probably much bigger and broader than you can imagine, because when you see Pisces energy, just think in terms of untapped or unlimited potential. And then with Mars, there's that work to do there's that energy to do all that detail work to bring something through, whatever it is. And it might just be organizing, like I was saying. And you can see the moon's moving towards, Pretty soon we'll have Moon and Mars conjunct, and then there will be that another opposition to Saturn. So Saturn's in the crosshairs there with the Moon. So, okay, let's go ahead and focus on this one here. So 11 p.m. 11 p.m. On Thursday. Like I was saying, Moon and Mars. It happened already. Yeah, oh my God. How many hours apart? Not even, 6 a.m. to, well, almost 12. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Moon and Mars together, exact. And you know what? Just suffice to say that be careful about overworking on Thursday, because you might pick up tons of energy. And you know how you can stay up too late and catch a second wind, and then you can't go to sleep because you're on to something. If you're young, you can get away with it. If you're my age, don't. Don't even try, because, well, if it happens, it happens, and if there's nothing you can do about it, just go with it. But if that's the case, you're going to need all Friday to probably recuperate. But the Moon hooked up with Mars in Virgo can have us overthinking, and especially about the past, and especially about limitations of the past. But maybe there's a breakthrough where you figured out what hasn't worked from the past or in the past, and now there's that ability to move on and intuitively respond, because Mars is energy that it's instinctual. And in Virgo, we're talking about the details of something, and it could be a health, dietary thing that you have figured out, and it's good. It's not, because it's useful, right? Now, Virgo is also the sign that I always look to for divine order, because it creates order. Because we get things fine-tuned, so we're creating order. So just be willing to let go of perfectionism all day Thursday, and do your best to get a good night's sleep, Thursday night. Because it's so much has happened by Thursday night, I think. What else with the Moon? Okay, 6 degrees there. Yeah, there's the trine. Well, no, that's Venus. So actually, besides the opposition, Thursday night, there are no other aspects to the Moon. So that's good. Okay. All right, then Friday morning, I pushed it forward to 11 a.m. to get us into the exact aspect here. See how the Moon's here on the other side, 6 degrees past Mars. And so I think guidance came through about how to create more order in your life that is useful to you. And now with the Moon at 12 degrees here from the Sun into the South Node, action will be needed. So hopefully you didn't work too hard on Thursday, and you got to sleep early enough, and then Friday, this is the day to do it. Because notice how we kind of have like this arrow energy going here. So if I were to, do I have? Hold on. Yeah, I do. Okay, so if you focus here, here, and here, see how we have an arrow? And it's from Saturn. And then, of course, you can see, too, because of that 12 degrees 6 here, well, it's the Moon and Mars, actually. I only focused in on the Moon when I was getting that aspect, but Mars is exactly still opposing Saturn, because it will, because of the retrogradation of Saturn. So the arrow, it's moving you in this direction. You're trying to create a spiritual foundation. You're trying to heal and release and dissolve rigidity of any kind, or any rigid controlling factor in your life. right? Because Saturn wants to control things, and it can delay things, and it can deny things from us. But it can also create a stable foundation that helps us to master an area of our life. And with the arrow here to the moon, and with Mars there, and it's all Virgo energy at this end, this is health. This is work. It's usefulness. It's our daily routines. So there's action that needs to be taken, but it's okay because the energy is there for that to happen. So okay, so that's Friday. And then Saturday, 6:32, 6:51, yeah. Okay. Sorry, these charts are kind of messed up. I was playing around with them. Taking notes. There, right there. Okay. So two things are happening pretty much at the same time. 6:30 p.m. Venus goes retrograde. So let's focus here first. But notice that the sun's moving into Leo at about the same time, just less than a half an hour later. So again, with that exact grand cross, right? And notice how the sun's at 29:59 and Pluto's at 29:06. Yeah, so it's there we've got that exact opposition happening there. And Eris is involved pretty tightly with that North Node, because the North Node's headed that way. Eris takes forever to move, so don't even worry about it. It's going to stay there. The North Node will catch up to Eris. So we're headed in a direction of more feminine courage. Remember, Eris is all about, she's the feminine counterpart to Mars, and she's a dwarf planet like Pluto is. They're both dwarf planets. But Eris is pretty much our feminine struggle for equality. And it takes, 558 years to get around the sun. And with this Pluto squaring Eris, 29, it's going to go back to 27 something, and then Pluto will go, then it'll go direct and start moving back towards Aquarius. But for quite some time, until December 7th, the Pluto squaring the nodes, and Eris is involved within that as well. In fact, until Christmas Day, there's that tight square to Pluto. So it's like, power struggles, major power struggles in the realms of we're taking action, and we're coming from equality and justice. So I don't know how you guys think that's going to work out for the dirty politicians, but I think it'll be pretty good. And you notice, not good for them, good for us. You notice that we do have the double, I just didn't highlight it in, the double, finger of fate, still here from Venus. That hasn't left. You can see it in here too. So we have it all week, both of those. So, oh yeah, it turned orange. Okay, no big deal. So Venus going retrograde is all about reevaluating our values, and our values as to, how we spend our money, because Venus is about money. Venus rules Taurus, right, and Libra. So Venus, the ruler, is connected to the South Node and connected to Jupiter and Uranus. And, we're thinking about how we spend our money, who we invest our time with, how we relate to close relationships, and how we create well-being and harmony in our lives so we can have experience and create more stability, more safety and stability and growth. So that's pretty much what Venus retrograde is all about. And wherever Venus is retrograding in your chart, so we're going to go through, it's going to retrograde, we're starting here at 28 degrees, so you want to get out your chart and look and see where 28 degrees Leo is. And it's going to retrograde all the way back to 12 degrees in 12 minutes, 12:12, that's pretty cool, on September 3rd. So write this down, July 22nd and September 3rd, Venus will be in Leo, and it'll go from 28 degrees back to 12. So you want to see where that lands in your chart. And that will be the house that would be your area, the area of life that you will be reevaluating your values about. Okay, so I did the the nodal axis video that I've done other ones too, where I take you through the houses. So if you just look in my video library and the astrology playlist, it'll be in there, and as long as you know your chart, you'll be able to accurately predict how Venus retrograde is going to affect you. And then it won't, so it'll go direct in September, but it won't enter Virgo until October, early October. So that's important to know. But just suffice to say that it's because, so when an event happens, when we have a stationing of a retrograde or a movement of a planet like the sun moving into Leo, what happens is you want to look at the other aspects, and especially the ruling planets. So that's another thing to do too, is to, when you're looking at your own chart, wherever Venus, or wherever Leo lives, you also want to look at what house does Venus rule? Where does Venus land in your natal chart? Like, let's say you have Venus up here in the 9th. Well, you might be someone who loves to travel. You might also be someone who just loves, divination, or maybe loves being a college professor or something like that. The 9th house is such a big. It's so multifaceted. It's even the house of media, all types of media. Or you might love horses. It's the house that rules horses. So, something like that. That's just an example, is look and see where Venus is in your natal chart, and then you have to add that information in. So, yeah. Okay, what else? Let's see. I think I'll just go ahead and move into this chart, the sun moving into Leo. And that happens like a half hour later, Saturday night. And you can see it's part of the Grand Cross still. And all the other aspects are the same, except for look how far the moon has made it. To 27 degrees Virgo. And we still have those two, you can see them under there, those two finger of fates happening. So again, coming from what you love doing and how you want to create it in visualize it, get inside of it spiritually, do your spiritual work to bring in what you want and do all that manifesting work. But now also the moon we have a quincunx going here from the moon to the north node. See how the moon's at 27 degrees Virgo Saturday night? And then right in here to the north node, this is an adjustment. So by the time Saturday night rolls around, you're going to be much, much more deeply, there's been some healing that has happened. And if it's only just the awareness of where something was off and you need to shift it, then that's still good enough, because whatever it is that has come up, the work will help you on your path moving forward because of that adjustment there. So whatever emotional work, whatever healing the past, all of that will help you move forward. That's true always, but the moon has been really supporting that process. Especially, because we started back here with that new moon in Cancer, and then, to get inside that heart energy of Leo and your self-expression, your creativity, and to have all that Empress energy here with Venus, and then get into the worky, energy of actually doing it. That it's great. And then later on, as the moon moves forward next week into Libra, there's going to be more balancing out, because now you know something you didn't know before, and you're balancing things out, and you might have new relationships come in. There's that very real possibility. And maybe politically we'll see something heal. And that might just be that there's more awareness of details that come out, because Virgo rules details. There's digging for details going on, that's for sure. So, okay. And then another note here is Chiron will go retrograde at 5:42 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So I'll talk about that next week, next Thursday when I do that reading, but that video. But I just wanted to let you know that's going to happen. So as Chiron goes backwards, or retrogrades, I will, I'll talk more about that as we go. And then someone brought to my attention, Rose Blue, that we have a lot of retrogrades happening in September. I think she thought it was like 7 planets, but then when I looked, it's like, well, we can't count Chiron as a planet because it's a centaur. And the nodes didn't count because the nodes are always, the retrogradation of the nodes doesn't really mean anything personally, except for where it lands in your chart, because they're based on the nodal, like the moon's wobble, and the moon goes, it's wobbling all the time. It's just that's how it rolls, in a wobble. Oh my goodness, remember those little toys, Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down? Remember those? I'm dating myself, aren't I? I remember my oldest had those. Oh, okay. So, must be back in the 70s. Anyway, so September. What Rosemary's comment made me do was look forward to the transits in September, and there are. In fact, I have, if I can find it, or maybe I left it out, because I was looking for some reason or other, I ran a chart about September. Oh, that was Neptune retrograde. Yeah, for some reason or another, I did this chart, and I don't know why. I can't remember what I was looking for, but so we can look forward to the end of the summer and fall coming in. Yeah. But look at this. Saturn's retrograde, Neptune's retrograde, well, it was already. Pluto's retrograde. Venus is not anymore, of course. Oh, Uranus and that's where the others come in. Okay, and Chiron. Yeah. So earlier in September, I think it happens that... So look at that. Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto. So basically where the numbers are 4, where the numbers are red, those are planets that are retrograde. So Venus will be done in September, but September 3rd, Venus goes direct. But look at all of these other... these major transpersonal planets. We're dealing with Saturn. We're dealing with these 3 retrograde already, so we're used to that. But when it comes to Jupiter and Uranus, it's going to slow down that conjunction, and I really would rather see happen. But it will. That's going to come together. I just can't remember what the dates are. I'll have to get that for you later. Yeah, I think it's like later in 2024. Yeah. Anyway. And, Mercury's going to go retrograde in there because that happens about every 3.5 months. Mars is direct. Yeah. So that's it. I'm just blabbering and looking. This is like what happens all the time. I just keep looking at charts and wondering, how's it going to go for you guys? But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get this uploaded and send you lots of love. Bye. Take care.